Sancho finale.
Saiha, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for your kind words and introduction. Appreciations and felicitations to Sana for keep on continuing to talk on the issues of so important for this country, I would say, and for province as well. मूंखे इहो चयो वियो त तव्हां ज़रात जे बारे में ॻाल्हाइजो, एक्सपर्ट कोन आहियां, ज़रई तंज़ीम सां ताल्लुक़ रखां थो, पाण ज़रई पेशा माण्हू आहियां. So I just collected some figures, 3-4 slides, त सिर्फ़ु तव्हांखे आउं पेश करे सघां. महिरबानी करे प्रेज़ेंटेशन हलाइजो. भाई प्रेज़ेंटेशन चलाएंगे ज़रा आप. So हुई अॻई थोड़ी देर थी वई आहे. So basically just an introduction में जेके ॻाल्हियूं चवणियूं आहिनि से गुज़ारिश करे वञा त whatever has been said about the water is being certainly correlated with the agricultural information and data that is being provided. As I said, I'm not a researcher. I also picked up secondary data from mostly from World Bank and Pakistan Bureau of Statistics. So few historical facts. Ba agya kajo. Kuch historical facts and he akhri logo we all said in different terms. Basically, to me, it was a knowledge when I heard that even before barrages, while our area was much less, but agriculture Sindh में Punjab खां वधीक हूंदो हो जॾहिं barrages कोन ठहियल हुआ. So I have quoted this report, which is Sakhar Barrage committee जी 1913 जी report आहे, when they were considering Sakhar Barrage. त उन में ॾाढो clearly हिकिड़ी शइ लिखियल आहे त सिंध में छो त inundation canals हुआ, which sometimes are also very bad in flooding. त असां वटि बज़ाते ख़ुदि नेचुरल टोपोग्राफी अहिड़े क़िस्म जी हुई जो असां वटि ज़रात थींदी हुई. त पंहिंजे वॾनि खां पुछंदो त ढोरनि ते ऐं ढोरा नारा इहे पंजाब जी टोपोग्राफी ऐं कॉन्टूर लेवल्स अहिड़ा कोन हुआ, उते एग्रीकल्चर कान थींदी हुई. सो सिंध में वधीक थींदी. इन करे जेका बि डेवलपमेंट थी एग्रीकल्चर में सा लोअर दुआब ऐं जॾहिं हू सभु शयूं ठहियूं ऐं पोइ इहा शइ थी. सो इट इज़ वेरी क्लियरली मेंशन्ड इन दैट रिपोर्ट ऑफ 1913. The author, Mr. Otley, writes that it is 4 million acres of agriculture that is happening in Sindh and that the people are concerned. ऐं वरी पोइ राव कमीशन जेका फाइनली आई त कान रिपोर्ट, पाकिस्तान ठही वियो हुयो, पर उन में ॾाढो क्लियरली इहा शइ मेंशन्ड आहे त सिंध जा कंसर्न्स रिगार्डिंग पाणी वैलिड आहिनि. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज़. अच्छा साईं, जस्ट दिस प्लीज़. ये थोड़ा पीछे कर लें, दो पीछे कर लें प्लीज़. Sirif graph. So this is one of the graphs which is from the World Bank's report of 2019. And you basically show up your kare ta agriculture ghani thi the Punjab mein and Sindh mein. So it's about 15, close to 15 million hectares, and Sindh ji about 2 million hectares. Aage chalaiyega zara please. The ghanu number in mein manu ulje vanye to, and I looked at those tables. Unme it's a very उन में ॾाढी रिवीलिंग शयूं आहिनि, बट मूंखे हिकिड़ी ॿ शयूं मूं सिर्फ़ु चयो त टाइम थोरो हूंदो. साईं जावेद साहब कल्ह खां वठी ॾेजारियो पिए. सो असां हिकिड़ी ॿ शयूं मूं सिर्फ़ु चयो त आउं लिखी छॾियां हिन में. सो हिकिड़ी ॻाल्हि त इहा त जेको पंजाब जी जोग्राफिकल एरिया आहे उन जो तक़रीबन 60% ऑलरेडी हींअर वक़्तु एग्रीकल्चर में आहे. जे तव्हां उहो मैप में ॾिसंदो त तव्हांखे उहा शइ विजुअली ॾिसण में ईंदी. ऐं सिंध जो इज़ तक़रीबन ओनली 34%, which is where the irrigated or the cultivated agriculture happens. So if you would look at those numbers of different years, it is quite evident, may that be area cropped more than once, may that be cultivable waste, forest. You will be amazed to see that Sindh having the figures which is especially and specifically showing that agriculture in Punjab, jeko aaye so tamam ghanu pyo the. Acha, not only the numbers that you see, but you know, nobody is looking at, for example, in 22 to 23, this last year, jeka sari ji production ahe Punjab mein, that is increased by 20% in just 1 year, to 6.4 million acres last year. And therefore, you would be reading in the newspaper, Wawa, Zabardast, Chawar ji export pai the. So wherever I go, I say it's very good. But if it was on the back of the yields per acre, very good. But if it was on the back of area, then perhaps then we are utilizing water somewhere more. So it's a given fact. that paddy takes the highest quantum of water in Kharif, more than any other crop. If you would look at the numbers in 2013 and 14 and take it till 2013 and 14, the taake takriban 40% increase in paddy area, jeka aisa taake Punjab mein disan mein ache. That's one. Number two, taake jeke northern Sindh ja rice millers hain, they would tell you that asan wat paddy sometimes Sindh khan peri Punjab ji paddy achan thi shuru the. So not only is the quantum of water, but the timing and availability of the water is also quite early. So next slide, and I think this is my last slide, if I'm not, no. In a slide ko thoda agya halai jao, thoda agya karo, and agya halayo slide ke, agya halayo, please, please, please. So these are just numbers, somebody has said it, I don't want to get into it. I think this is something which everybody should be looking in Pakistan, and असांखे जेको सबक पिया पढ़ाइनि था कि पाकिस्तान जी प्रोग्रेस जी ॻाल्हि करणी आहे त पाकिस्तान जी प्रोडक्टिविटी वाइज़ वी आर वन ऑफ द लोएस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड ते आहियूं पर इन द रीजन बि आहियूं विद द सेम वाटर इफ यू वुड रन अराउंड विद दीज नंबर्स यू कुड एक्चुअली डबल योर प्रोडक्शन इवन इफ यू लुक एट द नंबर्स ऑफ इंडिया वर्ल्ड बैंक वग़ैरह उहे सभु असांखे माण्हुनि खे ॿुधाए चुका आहिनि पर अलाए छो असां जेके सो कॉल्ड डेवलपमेंट जा माण्हू आहियूं वाई आंट वी थिंकिंग इन दोस टर्म्स विच इज़ एसेंशियली गुड फॉर पाकिस्तान एंड also for Sindh as well. Saying to the next slide, please. Halayo, again halayo. So, asanji kuch surat hal in mulk mein asanke samjh mein kon to ache te hi what they are trying to do. So, hikde paase ta asi kishto khani pinu pya ta asanke paisa dio yaar aur chote asan wat asanke environment tabah kare chadyo I don't know why the world is coming back and haunting them and telling them that taha panji environment lai chha pya karo. Nobody is realizing that hin waqt jeko asanjo takriban 92% of the water ahe una sirf asi 20% of the GDP agriculture jo paida karyu pya. There are places where drinking water ja shortages create thi vya hain, and again Pakistan needs to be water smart if that's what we are intending to do. बेतरफ तव्हां ॾिसो त while we say that we are the most affected, but at the end of the day we are also doing things which are also harming environment ऐं जंहिंजे बारे में पहिरीं अची सभु माण्हू दोस्त ॿुधायो वियो उन बारे में वधीक ॻाल्हि करण जी जेका ज़रूरत कान्हे. तव्हांजी वॾी महिरबानी जो तव्हां हिते असांखे दावत ॾिनी एंड इट्स ए क्रिटिकल मैटर. हर कंहिंखे पंहिंजो रोल जेको आहे सो पंहिंजे हिसाब किताब सां अदा करिणो आहे. वी बीइंग एन एग्रीकल्चरल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिते बि हूंदी ॻाल्हि उहा असीं पंहिंजे हिसाब किताब सां फॉर दिस एंटायर केनाल असीं हमेशह ॻाल्हि कंदा रहासीं. थैंक यू वेरी मच. बसि ॿुधायोसीं हिन में.
Well, thank you. I thank so much for the presentations, and I believe Dr. Waleed Sheikh, who will be giving the vote of thanks and the resolutions of this water crisis conference on behalf of SANA, has just stepped out, so he will be back. In the meantime, let me take this opportunity to mention a work that, a publication that I had 10 years ago, and it was because nobody has mentioned in detail about the climate change and the impact it's having in South Asia. So I had a paper in the Nature magazine about 10 years back that actually talked about the impact of the climate change on the hydroelectric power in South Asia, because the rivers flow and you produce electricity. So what is going to be the impact of climate change on hydroelectric? And what we actually found is that there is a brown cloud, they say, or smog, because of the Himalayas, that is increasing with time over South Asia. And as the wind flows north, it creates a dark cloud, obviously in the atmosphere, over the northern regions, which is where the glaciers are. This leads to a hot spot, what is known as a hot spot, and therefore the glaciers will be melting much faster in the Himalayas, in the Karakoram, in the Hindu Kush, as compared to other regions of the world. So what we will see actually is a larger flow of or a faster glacier melting over the next 5 to 7 years, with the result that once the glaciers go, 50% of the river water comes from rain, and 50% of Indus water comes from glacier. So once the glaciers disappear in 5 years' time, the impact of climate change will anyway be that you will see 50% of the water flow in river Indus. Please keep that in mind. irrespective of the Cholistan Canal or no canal, the climate change impact of River Indus, after 5 years, you will see a 50% reduction in water flow in the Indus. Please keep that in mind. May I request Dr. Wali Sheikh, please?
Thank you, Javed. Thank you, everybody. My job here as the chair of Sindhi Association of North America Advocacy Committee is to thank people who have made this possible, and obviously cannot say much. Ayub has been just instrumental in arranging and helping us with this conference. Mr. Ahmed Shah, the president of Arts Council, was nice enough to give us the space so that we could have this conference. As a chair of Advocacy Committee, I'd like to thank Sana Executive Committee who gave us the permission and all the support that we needed to hold this conference in Sindh. Its president, vice president, joint secretary are all here. They've traveled all the way to make this a success. Obviously, this conference couldn't have proceeded without the experts, and my thanks to the experts who are here, who educated us, and Nasir Saab, Tanji presentation, it has to be presented, it has to be propagated, and people need to know and understand. We were just sitting there talking, so I mean, I learned so much from one of your graphs, Jimmy, the river flows, but that was great. And my thanks to all the audiences who came, and the hall was full, and it is an amazing thing. Thank you very much, everybody. And in the end, if you give me about 2 minutes, we'd like to present the resolutions of this conference so that this can be propagated and people need to read and understand what was this all about. So give me your patience, give me just about a few minutes. Sindhi Association of North America, Sindh Water Conference, with the topic of Let the River Flow, resolutions passed. They will only be passed after you raise your hand, so they've not been passed yet. Resolution passed on Saturday, January 11th, 2025. Here we go. We believe Punjab and federal government are one and same party pursuing an agenda which is against the interests of Sindh. That is why Sindh does not receive its water share as per 1991 accord, and Sindh water indent should be calculated at Guddu barrage rather than at Chashma. ISRA and or through the Council of Common Interest, Government of Pakistan should order a water usage audit in Sindh and Punjab. Next, the federal government and Punjab cannot and should not initiate any water diversion projects, be it canals, dams, upstream, without the consent of Sindh. Next, on the issue of proposed canals, Sindh's position interests are completely ignored. Sindh feels powerless and helpless. These water diversion projects will result in poverty, hunger, reduction in irrigated land, and consequently internal displacement among Sindhi peasants. A moratorium should be imposed on any upstream diversion projects in Indus Basin. Next, Sindh's coastal belt faces an existential threat in wake of rising sea levels and sea intrusion. We demand that the satellite data should be used to report trends of sea intrusion in Indus Delta on regular basis. Next, priority of the federal and the provincial government should be to save the dying delta in Sindh. Therefore, a minimum of 5,000 cusics per day and or 25 MAF. Let me be honest, I don't understand what this is all about, but I'm going to read it anyway. 25 MAF every 5 years in flood and must be insured as recommended by the international consultants in 2005, a group appointed by the government of Pakistan. For the deltatic region to survive and thrive, a minimum of 8.5 million cusics of water must be released to downstream. For the deltic region to survive and thrive, a minimum of 8.5 million cusics of water should be released in the downstream. Sorry, I read it again. Delta communities should be declared effectees of water sector project, and the federal government should provide a special development package as compensation for their losses and displacement. Indus Delta should be declared a protected area with guaranteed water flow. The International Commission of Experts should be commissioned to empirically establish ecological impact of upstream diversion on Indus Delta. And lastly, Sindh views the so-called corporate farming as means to establish of colonial settlements in Sindh. It is a process of colonization of Sindh, and thus Sindh demands allotment of corporate farming should be cancelled, and if needed, be allotted to indigenous people. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and thank you very much for coming.
As Dr. Wali Sheikh, as a part of vote of thanks, I would like to request the SANA President, Dr. Maqbool Hale Putta, to come on stage. And I would also like to request all the speakers to please come up, because we will be presenting them with a token of appreciation. All speakers, please.
Sain